and welcome to this four-part series where once again we're speaking with the Cambridge Centre for Alternative Finance, World Bank Group and the World Economic Forum, who have partnered up to investigate the impact of COVID-19 on fintech firms. Now, building on findings and insights from its landmark COVID-19 Rapid Assessment Study back in 2020, the new research titled the Global COVID-19 Fintech Market Impact and Industry Resilience Study is setting out to collect information and data from firms across the globe to gain insights into fintech performance in the face of the pandemic, the steps they've taken to respond to customer requirements, and how regulatory factors have influenced their development throughout the pandemic. On the line now to talk us through World Bank's involvement in the research is Fiorella Carvajal, lead financial sector expert at World Bank. So, Anna, it's good to see you again. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Hannah, for the invitation to join you.
It's really good to have you on. So where I want to start the interview today is looking at why the insights from the research are so important to World Bank. So could you shed some light on that for us, please?
Well, Hannah, as you know, we conducted a rapid survey last year that aimed to assess the initial impact that COVID was having on the fintech sector. So this year, with the new survey, what we want to assess is the longer term implications of COVID on the fintech sector. And we are interested in two main topics. First, to understand whether the sector remains resilient, and in particular, whether some business models, such as lending platforms that were severely hit by the crisis and by the COVID pandemic, had been able to recover. And second, as you were mentioning before, whether fintech firms are in need of regulatory support to continue providing their services. In the previous survey, fintech firms related to issues like the need for faster supervisory approvals for the implementation of remote onboarding and KYC as key for them to continue to provide their services. So we want now to explore whether these areas remain key issues for them or whether the areas of regulatory focus have changed.
Thank you, Anna, for setting the scene for us there. And tell us, how do these partnerships between those academic institutions and development organizations make a tangible impact? What about that?
Oh, yes, for sure. Well, as you know, the World Bank has a key role in providing policy advice to government authorities in emerging markets and developing economies as they seek to develop their financial sectors and their capital markets. And for our advice to be credible, it needs to be based on cross-country experience that we gather from our work in the field, but it is also important that is based in research, in robust research that allow us to gather more insights about the implications of the policy choices that government authorities have ahead. And this is the area where partnerships with the academia are particularly useful. In this case, the joint venture that we have with the Cambridge Centre for Alternative Finance and the World Economic Forum is going to allow us to gather more granular information about the impact of COVID in fintech firms.
All right, that's interesting. So taking that into account, how is research such as this applied to the work of World Bank?
Indeed, this research is very important for us. As you may know, fintech is not a monolithic sector. Rather, it's composed of different firms that have different business models and provide different financial services. And this means that there's no one-size-fits-all recipe as how they should be regulated. So a research like this allows us to have a better understanding of the differences in those business models, how COVID is affecting them, and therefore how regulations and laws need to be adjusted and adapted to fit the concerns and the needs of these specific business models.
All right, so finally then, how does the development of the fintech industry relate to World Bank's goals moving forward?
I'm very glad you asked that question because it is very important. The fintech sector is still evolving, but there's already significant empirical research that effectively link fintech with financial inclusion. And I have to say that initially that positive impact, we have seen it in basic services like payments and remittances. But gradually, fintech is also having an impact in other key services, such as, for example, in the provision of finance to SMEs. And I cannot emphasize enough how important this role is, because SMEs are a key engine of growth and employment in countries. In emerging markets and developing economies, which is the main target of our advice, SMEs represent about 45% of employment and 33% of GDP. And therefore, it is critical for us that fintech are able to provide these services. And that is why I wanted to be here with you to highlight to all those fintech firms out there that we need their help, that we need their support to help us understand their business models, how COVID is affecting them, and what type of policy and regulatory support they need to continue growing and providing the critical services that they have been serving for the SMEs and for consumers as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And the survey also gives them a chance to voice their opinion and be heard, doesn't it?
Sorry. This topic is very important for us. So I'm so excited that you are asking that. Indeed, it is about making their voice heard and letting us know what are the issues that they are facing with COVID and in which way can policy authorities support them so that they can continue growing in a solid footing.
Brilliant. Well, Anna, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insights and urging those fintech firms to fill out the survey, and really looking forward to seeing where this research takes the industry. But for now, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you, Hannah. And the deadline is October 1st, so you still have time. Thank you.